principles which are separate from style. You must abstract the principles of music which have nothing to do with style, and this is exceedingly difficult. So their teaching of jazz is a very touchy point. It ends up where the jazz player ultimately, if he's going to be a serious jazz player, teaches himself. But the thing is that the jazz player, I think, ultimately must select and discard according to his own
Oh, I
self,
agree with you there.
Yeah,
I have one comment.
you know.
You'd be a tough student.
Believe me, I had him.
Most of us, I'll certainly put myself in that category, is that we need someone to feed in procedures and approaches and tools and mechanics of doing things. Then we can depart, you know.
Well, I needed that too, Harry. And I mean, but the only thing is, you as an individual always make the decision of what you accept and what you reject. And I know you must have done the same thing. And I mean, that's the thing that you as an artist are really concerned with, is how are you handling your materials? Are you able to handle them in any way you want? And the mood is something else.
Oh, I think you're right. But I think we have, again, we have to give them the materials.
Well, sure.
You know, in other words, like, the first question always is, well, I can't stay on the F chord for 4 measures. What am I going to do? You see? All right, you can give them 4 avenues, 8 avenues, 12 avenues, you know, and say, well...
Or you can say find an avenue.
Or you can say find an avenue. But if you just say, well, find an avenue, you'd be fired as a teacher, you know? I mean, you just can't say find an avenue because we'll say, well, he's not teaching me anything.
Well, maybe that's the way to teach, though. Maybe if you say, well, you must find an avenue. The next week I'll show you an avenue, but this week find an avenue.
Oh, well, that way, yeah. You know, and the essence of teaching is to get the student excited about the subject and explore it on his own.
Right.
This is the essence of teaching.
Well, remember what went on between us in a way? In other words, because I felt that in order to motivate yourself further, you should discover things yourself. Right. And it's the same way with a student. If you give him too much, you take his motivation away because he hasn't discovered anything.
Oh, true.
Right?
This is the knack of a good teacher. The pulse is to know when to feed in and when to draw back to a student. And I'll never forget to visit you when you came down to my home in Louisiana, and I waited for you for 3 years. I hadn't seen you in 3 years, and told musicians in town, I said, well, Bill's coming down. Boy, am I going to learn this week. And you came down and spent a week with me, and I said, Bill, show me those changes, harmonics, you know? And this went on for 3 days, and you didn't move from the couch to show me. And about the 4th day, I said, Bill, will you please show me, you know? And you walked over to the piano and say, well, if you really want, I don't want to deprive you of the pleasure of finding this out for yourself, and for that reason, I'm not going to show you a thing. And if you sit at the keyboard and get into it yourself, it'll be a marvelous experience. But if I can show you in 2 minutes what I've done. And I think you're right, because 8 years ago when we were together, you did show me some changes when we were at Berkshire together. And you showed me some changes, and I'm using those changes today.
Right.
I still use them.
Tricks or something.
And they're tricks, And I think you're so right here that I can't get the joy out of playing this as I can something I've developed myself.